The carjacking, their first act of defiance, was just the beginning. Emboldened by their success, the group escalated their spree, pushing the limits further with each passing hour. They careened through the city streets, leaving a trail of stolen vehicles and terrified witnesses in their wake. The crimes, each more brazen than the last, seemed to be fueled by a potent mix of adrenaline and desperation. They robbed convenience stores, terrorizing employees and customers alike. They led police on high-speed chases, their stolen vehicles becoming weapons in their desperate bid for freedom. But their spree took a sinister turn at a nondescript motel on the outskirts of the city. It was here, in the dimly lit corridors of the motel, that their spree of violence turned deadly. A life was taken, a senseless act that would forever stain their hands with blood. The victim, Isai Vera, a 34-year-old man, became another statistic in their twisted game. His life, cut tragically short, served as a stark reminder of the human cost of their actions. The motel shooting marked a turning point. The group, now wanted for murder, became the city's most wanted. Their faces, captured on surveillance cameras, were plastered across news channels and social media. They were on the run, desperate to evade the growing dragnet closing in around them. They sought refuge in cheap motels, their faces hidden under hoods and behind sunglasses. They moved like phantoms, their every move shadowed by the looming threat of capture. They knew the walls were closing in, the pressure mounting with each passing moment. The weight of their crimes, the life they had taken, seemed to weigh heavily on them. But their desperation only fueled their recklessness, pushing them to take even greater risks in their desperate bid for freedom. Their every move was being tracked, their every step scrutinized. The authorities were closing in, using every tool at their disposal to bring them to justice. Isai Vera, a loving father, a cherished son, a friend to many, was gone. His life, full of promise and potential, was cut tragically short by a senseless act of violence. He became an unwitting victim, caught in the crosshairs of a crime spree that had spiraled out of control. His family, grappling with the sudden and unbearable loss, was left to pick up the pieces. Their grief was palpable, a raw and agonizing pain that resonated throughout the community. His absence left a void, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating impact of violence. Isai's memory became a rallying cry for justice. His story, a tragic reminder of the human cost of crime, galvanized the community. They demanded answers, accountability, and an end to the violence that had plagued their city. Isai Vera's legacy, however, would not be defined by the way he died, but by the way he lived, with love, laughter, and a generous spirit that touched all who knew him. Section 5. The long arm of the law. The pressure was on. The eyes of the city, indeed the nation, were fixed on Oklahoma City. The manhunt for the suspects in the deadly crime spree was intensifying. Authorities were relentless, working tirelessly, following every lead. The investigation was a complex puzzle, with pieces scattered across the city. Detectives worked around the clock, piecing together movements, analyzing footage. The pressure was immense, the stakes incredibly high. The public was on edge, their fear palpable. They wanted answers, they wanted justice, and they wanted it now. Authorities promised swift and decisive action. They vowed to leave no stone unturned. The message was clear. Justice would be served. The long arm of the law would ultimately reach out and apprehend those responsible. Section 6. Answers and Apprehensions. The break in the case came from an unexpected source, a tip from a concerned citizen. The caller, recognizing one of the suspects from the news, reported their location to the police. Armed with this crucial information, law enforcement moved swiftly, descending upon the suspect's hideout. The arrest was tense, a flurry of activity as heavily armed officers surrounded the building. The suspects, cornered and with nowhere to run, surrendered without incident. The relief, both within the police department and the community at large, was palpable. The arrests brought a sense of closure, a feeling that justice was being served. But it was a bittersweet victory. tempered by the knowledge that it wouldn't bring back Isai Vera. The pain of his loss lingered, a constant reminder of the devastating consequences of the suspect's actions. The investigation, however, was far from over. Authorities were determined to build a rock-solid case, one that would ensure these individuals were held accountable for their crimes. Section 7. The weight of evidence. The evidence against the 4 suspects was overwhelming. Surveillance footage placed them at each crime scene. Eyewitness accounts corroborated their involvement. Physical evidence linked them to the stolen vehicles, the robberies, and Isai Vera's murder. The prosecution presented a compelling case. They painted a picture of a group driven by reckless disregard for the law. The defense faced an uphill battle. The trial captivated the nation. The courtroom was packed with reporters and the family of Isai Vera. The verdict was swift and decisive. Guilty on all counts. Justice was served, but it was a hollow victory. Section 8. A community in mourning. The guilty verdict offered a sense of closure, but it did little to ease the pain that still lingered in the heart of Oklahoma City. The community, united in grief and outrage, struggled to come to terms with the senseless loss of Isai Vera and the terrifying ordeal they had all endured. Candlelight vigils were held, memorials erected, and stories shared, all testaments to the life that was tragically cut short. Isai Vera was more than just a victim. He was a father, a son, a friend, a neighbor, a member of the community. His loss left a void felt by all who knew him. The community, however, refused to let fear define them. They rallied around Isai's family, offering support and solace during their time of unimaginable grief. They channeled their anger and sadness into positive action, organizing community initiatives aimed at preventing future tragedies and fostering a greater sense of unity. The healing process was slow, but with each act of kindness, each shared memory, the community began to piece together the fragments of their shattered peace. Section 9. Seeking closure, demanding justice. While the arrest and conviction of the 4 suspects brought a sense of justice, it also ignited a firestorm of questions. The community, grappling with the aftermath of the crime spree, demanded answers. How could this have happened? What could have been done to prevent it? The authorities, faced with these difficult questions, launched a thorough review of the events leading up to the tragedy. They examined every detail, every decision, searching for answers that could prevent such a horrific event from ever happening again. The community, however, yearned for more than just answers. They demanded accountability. They wanted to know that those responsible for allowing such a dangerous group to roam free would be held responsible for their inaction. The investigation, while focused on the perpetrators, also shone a light on systemic failures that contributed to the tragedy. The pursuit of justice, it seemed, was far from over. It extended beyond the courtroom, reaching into the very heart of the community and the systems designed to protect them. Section 10. The unanswered questions. Even with the guilty verdict, some questions lingered, echoing in the quiet spaces left by the tragedy. The investigation couldn't answer everything. The why, the how, the what-ifs. These questions haunted those touched by the tragedy. The families struggled to find peace. They grappled with the unimaginable loss, the unanswered questions, and the knowledge that nothing could bring back their loved ones. Their journey of grief, healing, and forgiveness was just beginning. The community grappled with the aftermath. The scars remained, a reminder of the fragility of peace. The task ahead was daunting, rebuilding trust and fostering unity. The Oklahoma City crime spree revealed the resilience of the human spirit.